Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Bit of a different format this time. This is more a thoughts and ramblings video. Not had a lot of time to actually get some content which I would have liked to get done this month with real life commitments. I just started a new job, so kind of had limited hobby time as we got to kind of do the getting in early and staying late and all that rubbish whenever you get a new job. You know what it's like. So I was hoping to get a black armor tutorial out this month to sort of coincide with the Black Templars releases, which all, to be fair, pretty much all still pre-order on Games Workshop website, whether that's by design or with they're having supply chain issues with quite a lot of companies having at the moment. I'm not too sure. So, but I don't think I've quite missed the boat on my Black Armor tutorial. So I'll try and get that out as soon as I can. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of just discuss the new Black Templars releases that have been quite all over the internet and very well publicised by Games Workshop. So firstly, just a full disclosure, I absolutely love Black Templars. They've been basically my favourite faction since third edition. The old like John and Blanche artwork off the third edition cover. They were kind of the Space Marine faction that I was looking for. The kind of crusading space knights, just basically just fucking hate everything and want to kill everybody. So yeah, they're just, everything about them to me is just so cool. So I'm gonna get that out of the way first. So but secondly, although I do have some good things to say about this, if you're a Games Workshop fanboy and can't take any sort of or form of criticism for Games Workshop, then it's probably best you go and watch another video and probably not continue watching this one, as it might hurt your feelings. So obviously, if you're into 40k and you don't live under a rock, you'll have realised that there's a new Black Templars releases, a new codex, and Games Workshop's hype train has been in full force really over the last couple of months, since they released the roadmap with what they were going to be releasing over the next few months. And sort of November was Black Templars, redacted, but everyone knew what it was. As I say, the hype train's been in full force, and although most things on the Games Workshop website are still on pre-order, as I've already discussed. I think they've already released their first FOMO box, which I think already isn't available anymore. If you don't know what the FOMO boxes are, they're basically they kind of seems to be Games Workshop's business model nowadays, where whenever there's something new coming out, or not even new, but like sometimes they kind of do these like limited edition, special edition boxes. They've done it. They did it with Indomitus. They did it with Dark Uprising. They did it with what's they do it with? I think the Warhammer, actually Age of Sigmar, that just came out. Where they'll release this limited edition, collector's edition box set. It's basically the same stuff that will eventually come out, but you get it in the. For example, I've still got one on my shelf. The Indomitus box with like different box art and a rule book with different cover. Collector's edition, all this. So I was, to be quite honest, quite shocked when I seen the FOMO box for the Black Templars. I think on Games Workshop website it was like £125, £130, something in that region, and they basically put like 12 models, miniatures, plus the Dreadnought, so 13 miniatures altogether. But it was basically a Crusader squad. I think it had the Emperor's Champion and a captain, maybe. Yeah, I think it was the captain. And then they just padded it out with like a Dreadnought, which is probably about 40 quid if you buy it, from Games Workshop. And then you got a codex with, again, limited edition codex with some like kind of squeezy cover on it, which was weird, and like some data cards and I don't know, did it have some dice? I can't remember. But yeah, I think you got some artwork as well. But again, it was like, it's basically, although they're new models, you basically got a fancy sort of Primaris squad, obviously like Crusader squad, and you got a couple of characters, and then you get Dreadnought. It's like one of them isn't even like a new model, and I'll come back to vehicles in a bit. But I just thought that was, again, they just, people will be hyped up for the Black Templars release. They kind of have this like early, one that you can get your hand on it, just charge through the nose. The codexes aren't dear for them to print. Nowadays the miniatures aren't nowhere near as expensive as they used to be. So yeah, it's is what it is. I'm not a fan of the formal boxes, and obviously they do the same with the Kill Team and everything now. Like it's a new Kill Team game every 2 months, which isn't actually a new Kill Team game. It's just Kill Team with a couple of different factions. We'll put some random different buildings in there, a different battle mat, and the exact same rule books and that, maybe with different cover, and then we'll package it different. It's just like, it's like, and then people will go out and buy these like one after the other, and probably have like 6 copies of Kill Team like every year. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, as I said, I was quite pumped for the new releases and looking forward to them. And they were doing all like the teaser and whatnot, and showing a little model at a time and whatnot. The guy with the flamer was all over the internet, and at first I'll just go to say that I think the character models are great. I really do, although like I don't think they've reinvented the wheel with them. I like how they've kind of stuck to the the classic look, the classic artwork that's been associated with Black Templars like for years, whether it's be the Castilian off the which is almost taken from the John Blanche artwork, and the the Helbrecht and Grimaldus original artwork from the probably 3rd edition codex. I think they've done a really great job with that. I was pleased to find out that the actual Helbrecht with his pose with his scimitars, like cleaning the sword, that the orc is actually optional. It's actually a full sword, and the orc on the base has actually got a little hole in that you can put it in if you want to have the orc on the base, and I think there's a rock that you can put in with to lean the sword on if you don't want to have the orc there. But yeah, I really liked that, and I also liked how it was all on the same base. He's got his scimitar cleaning his sword, and his other one carrying his gun around with him. So yeah, the Helbrecht is a wicked model. Really pays homage to the old artwork. Same with the Grimaldus. I think he's also got his scimitar retinue, and they're all carrying his relics and shit around with him. I think with that one, I just would have loved to seen it all on a one large scenic base instead of them sort of carrying the stuff around separately, which if I don't know how that would really affect the rules or not, but I think it would just look more impressive if maybe he was elevated slightly, and he had this kind of scimitars sort of around him, sort of with this standard and the sort of, I don't know what you call that, but that big sort of stone column relic with the Aquila on. Yeah. I I think, like I already said, the Castilian is like literally straight from the John Blanche artwork. They did a really great job with that, and actually to see that in 3 dimensions is quite something after all of these years. So overall, the characters get, you know, a thumbs up, and I think, as I said, they haven't really reinvented the wheel or anything with these guys, but they've kind of done a really good job of like staying true to kind of, you know, Black Templars like artwork and feel of it. So yeah, they'll make some, you know, fantastic, you know, miniature pieces. Now, just moving on to the Emperor's Champion. So is that one of the other characters who, in itself, like for many people, especially people who don't, you know, just like to, you know, kind of spam special characters in the sense of like, oh, I'll just have Helbrecht and Grimaldus, like, in my, you know, little battle force or whatever. Like, oh yeah, okay, great. You know, the Emperor's Champion is kind of like, you know, always been, you know, really iconic. You know, and the fact that he's, you know, it's usually like, you know, it's known as the Emperor's Champion. You know, to have him in your army was always a real, like, you know, black, you know, super Black Templar thing. You know, if you go back from like, you know, Sigismund, the original Emperor's Champion, back in the Imperial Fist, you know, original law. You know, so I always thought that was a really like cool, you know, idea. I do like the model. However, me personally just think it's missing something. I don't. Again, they seem to have stuck to the like classic look. You know, they've got the, you know, it's the Emperor's Champion with a, you know, massive sword, you know, raised in the air. He's got his iron halo, his tabard, all that kind of stuff. I just think, and I did read that the idea behind the design of it was they wanted to kind of like, you know, have this sort of like crisp, clean like armor with not a lot going on, and, you know, like I don't know. I just think actually the opposite. I think with the Emperor's Champion, it was, you know, it would be a great, you know, excuse to stick more Black Templar trinkets, have them covered in purity seals. You know, again, a scenic base for this guy. Although like you can make them yourself. Just think that it's the 3rd rendition of the of the Emperor's Champion, and I just think it's kind of just, it's just a bit the same as last time and the time before, on like slightly different poses. But, you know, I don't think there's, you know, I think I'm really torn between this because I really do like it, but also I just think it's just a bit boring at the same time, which is weird, but that's art for you, isn't it? Yeah, I think it just needed a little bit more. I think overall it's a good model. Could have done with, you know, maybe some more details on it, or a bit of a kind of a fresh take on the pose. But I'd say the previous Emperor's Champion is still my favourite out of the 3. I think, you know, it's, although this is a Primaris one and a bit bigger, it's yeah, I do like the sort of classic 2nd Emperor's Champion. So yeah, I think lastly, before we go into the rank and file, I just wanted to talk about the Marshal, which is actually my favourite model out of the whole of the new releases so far. I say so far with an asterisk, so I'm not quite sure there's going to be any more Black Templar releases, to be quite honest, which we'll talk about, and it's why I'm a little bit disappointed with the whole you know, Black Templars hype, and then is kind of this it. I don't know. Yeah. I think the Black Templars Marshal, that's probably my favourite one. I think the pose is really dynamic, and I love like the way the cloak is sort of you know, flowing, and I think there's a couple of weapon options on there as well. So you can, I think there's like an axe and a sword, and then a combi flamer and a plasma pistol, and then a couple of heads. Although if you're not a person who likes painting skin or burr heads, then you'd be a little bit disappointed, as I think there's a completely burr head, and then there's one with a kind of like sort of like halo type crown on. So you might want to have a bit of a route for your bits box if you don't like painting bear heads. So yeah, I would talk about the Sword Brethren, the Crusader squad. So I think the Sword Brethren, like all together, when I look at them, I'm just like, basically like the Metal Sword Brethren from like what we had. It's like, this is where I kind of, from the kind of the main sort of like, you know, the named characters, it's almost like, I feel like it's like less and less you know, like effort went into kind of creating these, as you know, as you kind of go down to the rank and file, probably the exception of the Marshal, which I think's you know, probably, you know, like in my opinion the best, you know, looking miniature out of the new releases. I just feel like with the Sword Brethren, they just kind of, I mean, I think the problem with these days is that Games Workshop, they look like the mono pose, and I shouldn't be surprised, as that's how Games Workshop seem to do a lot of the kits nowadays. But yeah, I just think they're a bit, you know, they're just very similar to what we had previously, you know, like the old release. Obviously they've upgraded for Primaris, and you know they've got but they've got some different weapons, and I think that, you know, in fairness, it looks like there's quite a lot of weapon options and a lot of like sort of more like relic, you know, weapons and, you know, power weapons and all that kind of stuff on the sprue. But like, again, just not, I don't know what it is about them. I'm just not blown away, which is odd, because when I look at them individually, they are, you know, some quite nice models. But I'm thinking maybe this is just because Games Workshop just seems to hire, like, you know, without being mean, they don't hire the best painters, you know what I mean? So like, I think sometimes if I see these models on Instagram and you know, on social media, and you see, you know, some of the actual top artists, or you know, just people who can actually like paint not with a crappy sort of heavy metal style, I think it's because they've been painted in this like heavy metal like style with the edge highlights and whatnot, they don't really pop. And I've noticed this with I honestly think that Games Workshop's heavy metal team nowadays is rubbish. Like, I mean, I don't want to be like mean about you know, fellow painters and that, but they can't paint skin properly, they can't paint black properly, like I just don't like it. And I think that's perhaps with some of these Black Templars, especially the rank and file releases, they don't really pop or stand out. And I know like black is a different colour to paste, but like, you know, they've got the eyes aren't, you know, when they're like, say like the eyes in the helmets, they're really good at, you know, way to make, you know, black armour pop with having these, you know, sort of almost like an accent with the red colour on the armour, but it's just, yeah, they just look really flat and dull. So maybe it is, you know, the paint job rather than the miniatures on the, you know, Games Workshop website. But you know, I just think they again look a little bit the same as, you know, what we had last time with the Sword Brethren, albeit bigger and more Primaris. And then obviously the final sort of release, I'm probably safe to say this is the final release now, otherwise you never know, is the Crusader squad. So in this you basically get 6 Primaris Marines, and you get initiates, and one of them's a sword brother. You can build one of them as a sword brother or sword brethren, and then the other 3 are, no, sorry, the 4 are the neophytes, which are like kind of the trainee, you know, Black Templars inductees into the chapter, whatever, who are actually like getting experience on the ground, like, you know, they fight alongside like the guys who's like the master and train them up, whatever. So that's meant to be the sort of the lore behind it. And you know, the the neophytes and, like, you know, sort of Crusader squads are so unique to Black Templar forces. You know, they're really, you know, part of what makes them the Black Templars. And I look at the scouts, and honestly, they look awful. Now they've done the kind of the monopose thing again with And essentially you look at there's actually like 4 neophytes in that squad. If you actually break it down, there's only 2 leg poses, which is why the models look so derpy. It is unbelievable. Then you add to the head, like the heads just look, the sculpts for the faces and the heads are just terrible. And then in the upgrade sprue, which in my opinion should, for the price of what you're paying, should pretty much be included in the Crusader squad. The sort of the, you get a ton of, well, not even a ton. You get, enough shoulder pads to kind of, make a regular, say, Primaris squad, give them at least some iconography on the shoulders. But like the heads are terrible. There's not really anything to stick on vehicles. There's no sort of like, say, big Black Templar, icons that you could, put on a dreadnought or put on a tank. You've got there's a bunch of different neophyte, shotgun options, and like that's about it. And then again with the excuse me, with the the initiate, Black Templars, this again, you've got 6, but because they come with six of them, but you basically get the same sprue twice, so you've got the same leg poses, which again is why I just think that they look really off, because they've got to factor in like the tabards on all the models. You've kind of ended up with these. So I mean, some of them do look good, but like other ones just, just don't. Like they just look kind of forced, and I think that's the downside of having these like monopose kits. Or like where you've essentially got, several models, you build them the same, and then you just, you have the head looking in a different way, or you different arms to, kind of make it look like it's a completely different model, but it isn't. At the core, it's the same legs and body, and you just the ancillary parts are just different. So like with the kind of rank and file, which is going to be what you're going to be dealing with if you're collecting an army, I think they're not. This is where I got a bit disappointed, and I just like, why choose just regular scout armor? Because it's like for the start of the Primaris, and the scout armor's never been good, but it's literally looks like you've just got a Crusader squad with 4 scouts just following them around. That's how it looks to me. They've put tabards and belts on them, but like really they're just crappy scouts. and the Space Marine scouts have always been terrible models. So anyway, last thing we'll touch on is the White Dwarf that I got sent this month, which I was full on board the Black Templar hype train. I thought we was gonna have like it's gonna have like Black Templar battle report and Black Templar conversions, and see some other people's Black Templar armies and whatever, and there's literally not a single thing about Black Templars. So when I've got White Dwarf subscription, I was expecting to see a Black Templar cover. It's November. This is the Black Templars release month. Big hyped up. On the front of it, it's literally orc, speed boys, whatever they are, and then in the actual content of the magazine, it's pretty much in terms of 40k, it's all orcs, and then like the back third is literally all Middle Earth. And then you've got all the other bits that just fill out, like the Black Library story, the touch on Diachasm, which literally no one cares about. There's loads of Age of Sigmar in there nowadays because there's been a new release. So, but yeah, I was a bit disappointed in even in the White Dwarf this month. So, I'm crossing my fingers that there is going to be some more Black Templars stuff to come. And to be quite honest, I'd be disappointed if this is it, but I'm not holding my breath. I think this is probably going to be our lot, and if anything else interesting comes along, it's probably going to be a Forge Word model, but I'm not even going to hold my breath for that. And I think that in terms of actual accessories and stuff, because there's so many options online now with people who companies who 3D print or make their own you know, shoulder pads and helmets and all that kind of stuff. I think that's probably going to be the way to go in terms of any sort of upgrade. So that was my rant on the Black Templars releases, and that's all for now. I'll see you in the next video.